Yes, you can see me fluffing myself. Oh my goodness. I need to get a more comfortable chair. But anyway, welcome to day 8. It is Thursday, the 12th of November. And yeah, welcome back. So I actually left a message here. I guess it disappeared. Today's topic was going to be languages. Why and how? So basically, people who do know me know that I am fluent in English and Somali and German. So this is a thing a lot of people don't realize about me, is that I studied German for 8 years and got a GCSE and an A-level in it. And I am very comfortable in reading and writing it, although my speaking, I'm not as confident as I used to be. I haven't practiced it for a while. And anytime I've had a conversation with a native German speaker, I have been told that I speak German with a British accent. And I don't know if that's a compliment or an insult, because I've been told I speak Somali with a British accent as well. And that's coming from my friends, family, and other people. Obviously, my English accent's British as well. But yeah, so I am fluent in those 3 languages. Funnily enough, I studied French for 4 years. I did get a GCSE in it. It was a B, so I wasn't too happy with it. But that's a proper cover. But yeah, so I did French for 4 years and got a B. Originally, I studied it in school, and then I was supposed to do French and German as a GCSE. Like, I was supposed to do it early in year 10 and then pick one of the languages for AS. It was this weird program they had going at my school. But I was bound and determined to do art as a GCSE. I did not want to do French, so I didn't do French then. But when I got to 6th form and I started doing my German A-level, I realized I kind of regret not having a French GCSE, so I redid it. And I got a B, and I was like, I passed. It's okay. It's not too bad. Like, it's something. So yeah, so French. My mum is fluent in Arabic and like can speak it fluently. She lived and worked in Saudi Arabia as well as in Djibouti. So she is quite conversant in French and she's fluent in Arabic. And she was hoping that at least one of her kids would end up picking up Arabic. Like, obviously, we learned it when we went to madrasa. So when we went to Ahmed, we learned how to do the alphabet. We learned the basic words, how to join up letters, which ones can join, which ones can't, and that sort of stuff. And like, we learned how to read it and write it. We didn't never learn how to speak it. So like, we could read and write what was in front of us in the Quran, but we wouldn't know what we're reading. So we never actually learned the language. We just learned the letters and the words, which is good and it's bad because at least we learned the letters and the words, but none of us could actually speak it. My siblings anyway. My cousin, like my first cousin, my mom's sister's kid, she started watching these soap operas. They were Turkish and Asian, like Indian, and they were dubbed in Arabic. So she was watching those from when she was like 6 or 7 years old. And because she watched them so much, she ended up learning Arabic. So she speaks it fluently. She can read it, write it, speak it, everything. And because she's so much younger than my siblings and I, like she's 18. She's not exactly a baby, but she's younger than us by quite a bit. She just likes to rub it in our face. So she'll sit there with my mom and just like chat to her in Arabic. And then they watch the same program. So she's like, oh, and they're talking about whatever's happening. And I just sit there all uncomfortable. And then my aunt feels bad for me. And she's like, oh, Hannah, it's okay. We'll talk about something. I'm like, no, you can join your sister and your daughter. I have no idea what you guys are doing. I only watch like English TV shows. So Arabic was, I don't know. I don't know if I've never really add Arabic to my list of languages because, like I said, I can only read it and write it, but I don't know what I'm reading and writing. So do I know the language or not? That's debatable. I know some people would obviously say, yeah, you do, but unless I actually understand exactly what I'm reading and writing, I don't class it as knowing the language. So that's number 5 we're on. My failure. Basically, back in 2016 it actually started. I got into K-pop. So then I thought, oh, fabulous, I'm gonna learn Korean. I started, then I stopped, then I started, then I stopped, then I started again, and then I stopped. And everyone's like, how's your Korean going? I'm like, yeah, it's not. There is none. I can never claim to know anything of it other than learning some of the alphabet and learning a few basic reasons because we went there on holiday a few years ago. Like how to say hello, bye, thank you, how much is this, don't touch my hair. My brother learned that one. Basically, whenever my brothers go out, but 2 of them at a time had single plats, and like there was people, like it wasn't even the young people, it was literally the older ladies who were fascinated by my brother's hair, and they would always just like touch it. And like one of them's 6 foot, so they could actually reach his hair. The other one's 6'6", so they couldn't reach his hair at all, and they were just looking up, and they were fascinated by the fact that they had plaits and hair. And then we met some people there, and they were like, oh, if they had that kind of hair, they wouldn't be able to work in Korea. And they're like, what they do? And I was like, well, one's an accountant and one's an engineer. And they were like, what? Like, I was like, yeah, he does accounts for his company. This one, he technically learned engineering, but he just works for Amazon now. I don't know what he does, honestly. But yeah, so I was laughing. I was like, yeah, they have regular jobs, but they've got their platinum. They're like, oh, they'd never be allowed that. And it was just funny. But yeah, so a lot of people think I learned Korean because I tried to. I started off, I had the best intentions, had the books, I always take notes. I'm a visual learner, so I have to write things down and it has to be written for me and it needs to be in stages, and that's how I learn. I can't do audio. I can never do audio. Like if people talk to me, I just zone out. It's a horrible habit and I need to deal with it. But yeah, so I was like, I had intentions, I was going to learn it. Signed up to a couple of those language exchange apps where you meet people, made some wonderful friends, did not learn a lick of Korean. Like, so yeah, so anyone who's wondering how my Korean was going, it's not. I never learned it. I am not ashamed to admit that I was terrible at it. Like, because I didn't have the confidence to practice it with anybody, so I could never actually verbally do it. Like, I was always afraid I was going to sound weird. And being told that I sound British in the other languages I speak, even French, even French, my French teacher was telling me I'd say everything with a British accent, and I don't know how to get rid of it. Like, how does one get rid of one's accent? See, even now, one. So yeah, so I sound British and everything. So I thought I'm not gonna bother learning Korean because it's just like I'm gonna carry on listening to the music. We went to the country. It was a hell of a fun holiday, not gonna lie, especially since I went with my brothers. It was the best fun ever. Yeah, so but that's there. That was number 6. But I do have a fascination with languages. Like, I've always done it. Originally I wanted to get my PhD in biosemiotics, which is like the nitty gritty of language, or even linguistics. Linguistics would have been amazing. Like, imagine if I had the patience to go back to school and get my PhD. Like, it took everything out of me to get my master's. But linguistics would be the thing. So yeah, so that's number 6. I tried to learn Mandarin, but what had happened is I found out Mandarin hates me. Nothing, like, it just, I can't pronounce it. Same thing happened with Russian. Like the Cyrillic, it did not like me at all. It was just like, no, niet. just keep on moving. Pick another one. So yes, I've had many run-ins with different languages. And then recently, during the lockdown, I started looking into cognates and false cognates. So a cognate is a word that has the same origin, like words that have the same origin, which is why they sound similar. So say if something's in French, or if it's in German, or if it's Italian, they sound similar because they have the same etymology. They come from Latin-based languages, like the word bibliothèque, which means library in German, French, Spanish, Italian. And even now we still use bibliophile, or for someone who enjoys reading or likes books, because the word biblio is Latin. So that's what cognates were. And then false cognates are words that sound similar but don't share a history of any kind, like no etymology between them. And I found out certain words such as the tea. So a lot of countries say chai and a lot of countries say cha, including China, Korea, and I think China and Korea say cha. Somali says shah, which is very similar. And then like Arabic, Urdu, Greek, they all say chai. And it's like they have, other than the fact that there was the Silk Road, which kind of connected them like hundreds of years ago, there is actually no linguistic similarities between languages, but it's interesting that they say that. And like the word dad, so a lot of countries say appa or ab or abo or abba. So appa, abba, abo, they're all similar. But again, they have no relation, even geographically, there's like no connection. There's no reason for some countries to say same words. And sea. So the Somali word for sea is badda, and it's the same in Korean. They say badda as well for sea. And again, there is no connection between the two. They're, as far as I know, there was no trade in between the two either. So there was some trading with China because they had to get, because the Straits of Aden and we're the Horn of Africa. So, but yeah, so I was looking into cognates and false cognates, and that was the thing that had me fascinated during the lockdown period. Yeah, so languages have been something that I've always been interested in, and yeah, so that was my attempt. I tried to learn languages, and then I never really had the patience. So what I've tried to do recently is brush up on the ones I do know. So I've been practicing my German. I found some German language partners who are happy to help me and who have managed to ignore the British accent that comes out when I speak German. Sehr gut. But yeah, because I remember my brother was actually sitting with me the other day. I was on Amazon. I don't know how it happened. I was on Amazon. I was looking up snacks. I wanted to buy mochi because my friend's kids bought them and I was just craving them. And weirdly, all the reviews were in German, and I was just sitting through reading it, and I didn't realize that I was just reading it in German. And I was reading it out loud to him as well, and he's just looking at me. He's like, I don't understand what you're saying. And it took me a while to realize I was actually back to being able to quite confidently read German and understand, I'd say, about 80 to 85% of what was being said. So you have to remember, I learned school German. So I learned what they teach in schools, even if it was A-level and GCSE, it's still school German. So they teach you the things that you would need to know as a student, like how do I get to the library? This is my lesson time. These are my favorite things. Oh, I'd like to go this place, like just the basics. And then if you want to learn anything more, in A-level, they do help you out more conversational, so you can have regular conversations, like you can talk about politics and that sort of thing. But again, that was about 15 years ago, so it's been a while since I've practiced. But yeah, so it was quite interesting and quite fun to get back to German, I'll be honest. And I've spent more time at home, so I've been asking my mum with Somali. So what I speak the dialect, which is the northern dialect. And I was trying to get my mum to teach me some of the Hamr dialect, which is the southern one. Not for any particular reason. It's just because I thought it would be nice to know how to jump between the two dialects. So I've been doing that. And you would be surprised at how different the dialects are. Like two people from two parts of Somalia could be speaking, both of them speaking Somali, but it would be, because the dialects are so separate and so different, they wouldn't understand what the other one's saying, and they would say words that like have no connection. Like I did a video earlier in this year with some of my former students where I would read a word out in English and we would say it, the Somali version of the word, based on where we were from and how we'd learnt it. And it was interesting because like we obviously, when we're all together, we all speak English. We might throw out a few Somali words here and there, but most of the time we're speaking English. So it was interesting to note that our Somali was so different. And it was also then that I learned that a lot of the words I use are actually Arabic. Because our mum, when we were growing up, our mum would mix the two together. So a lot of the words I use were Arabic. And what I think they call us third culture kids, the ones who whose parents are from somewhere, they were born in a different country and they grew up somewhere else. So I'm a third culture kid. So yeah, so a lot of words I used were Arabic and I didn't know this, and I've always thought it was Somali. And I was like, why is nobody else saying these words? Or when I would say them, well, I was like, why are people looking at me like I'm speaking gibberish? When in fact I was speaking just Arabic. So yeah, so that was quite fun with the kids to do. Although they ended up spending a lot of time laughing at me because they all had more similarities than differences to me. They were similar and I was the odd man out. But yeah. But I always get fascinated when I meet people who speak so many different languages quite fluently and they're very confident in it. But I wonder how they learn it, because I can never bring myself to like sit down and proper learn a language. Like if I could, I'd probably learn Arabic, so my mum would no longer be disappointed in me, and I could be her favorite child. And I know, yes, parents don't have favorites, but they have favorites. Not intentional favorites, accidental favorites. And I wouldn't mind even being an accidental favorite. But I digress. So yes, so languages, the why and the how. Like, yeah, so I don't know, I've always been, I think it is because like when we were younger, we had a rule in our house where between us siblings, we could speak whatever the heck we wanted to speak, like any language that we chose. So obviously we were in London, we're going to speak English, is the one that we're most comfortable in. Although as we got older, we don't do that much anymore. But yeah, so when we were kids, our mum knew, obviously we go to school here, so she wanted us to not lose our first language, because all of us obviously stayed at home until about 4 and we started school. So all of us could speak a bit of Somali before we went to school. Some of us, like me and my younger two brothers, we didn't actually speak any English until we went to school. So we're like 4 years old and the teacher's saying stuff and we're just like, oh. But yeah, so mom had a rule where if we needed to ask her or my dad for anything, we would have to say it in Somali or Arabic. Like the older three could actually speak Arabic. My older three brothers, they could actually speak Arabic because they went to school for it and everything, so they actually knew it. But us younger ones, we couldn't. So most of the time we'd be in Somali, and if we said something in English, my mom would just look at us and she'd just wait. Like she wouldn't get mad, she wouldn't get upset, she'd just wait. She would wait for us to realize, oh wait, we need to say in Somali. So we'd say it in Somali, and then she would answer us in Somali, just making sure that we could always say the correct words and we know what we wanted or needed. There was a couple times when I didn't know the word, so then like mom would just look at me, she'd be like, come on, you can do it. So I'd run to my oldest brother and I'd ask him, and then I'd come back. And after the third time or fourth time of doing that, my mom said to me, you do know you can ask me what the word is, and if I know it, I'll tell you, because my mom's English is pretty okay. And she's just like, I just want you to practice Somali. I'm not going to punish you to run around and ask your brothers, because what if they're not home and you're stuck? So after that, we could actually ask her. So yeah, so I think it was because my mom could speak 4 languages. Like she spoke a bit of French, she's fluent in Somali, fluent in Arabic, and she's pretty decent in English. So it was like, that was what fascinated me. I was like, I want to learn languages. And then like my uncle came to live with us for a while. He moved from Holland. So he's speaking Somali, Arabic, German, because he lived in Germany for a while, and Dutch, and then English as well. So I was just like, okay. And then and then finding out that most of my mom's siblings all speak multiple languages. Like all of them speak at least two. Some of them speak like 3 or 4, and it's just like, I want this. I want to do the same thing. I want to be able to speak several languages. So that's originally how I started in German. My uncle lived with us for like 6 months, I think, 6 or 9 months. I can't remember. I was like 10. He was just there for ages to me. It felt like ages to me, and I had to give up my bedroom because I'm the only girl. So I was the only one with my own bedrooms. All the boys shared like two each. So I'd go and sleep with my younger brothers, and I was like, oh, I've got to be with boys. Like, oh, so annoying. So for me, it felt like forever, even though he wasn't actually here for that long. Yeah, this muggle was the best thing ever. But yeah, so he started, I don't know, he originally wanted to teach me Dutch. But for some reason, oh, I know why actually, because we were year 5, so we started learning German at school. So some primary schools in England actually start teaching languages from year 3 onwards. I don't know if it was like something the government set up or if it was just certain primary school shows. I know one of the primary schools I went to didn't, and then I moved to this one here when I was in year 4, and where I finished with primary school. So from year 4, they actually did French and German at this primary school. They'll do both, and you wouldn't have a choice; you'd have to do both. So we just started learning German, and then like my uncle was like, "I'll teach you Dutch," and I was like, "No, help me with German because that's what I'm doing at school. I need help with that." So that's how we started learning German. Started it from like when I was 10, and then finished at 18, and that's when I got my A levels, and I was like, "Oh, not bad." But yeah, so he just started teaching me German, just stuck. I found German really easy actually. Like I never ever had problems with it. Well, all right. So when my uncle was teaching it, I never ever had problems with it. When I got to school, year 7 was fine. Like we didn't do serious stuff. Year 8 is when it got a little bit more complicated when they started doing the masculine and the feminine. And I was like, I understood everything before, but then when they threw that element in, it seemed to confuse me, and I went back to not understanding again. So I don't know, the masculine feminine thing was just confusing for me. But French has that as well, and it used to always confuse me. And then there's the fact that my best friend speaks French, Belgian, Italian, Spanish, and English, and she's just like amazingly multilingual, like Latin-based languages conqueror. She hated German because the way, I don't know how it happened, but as our half of the year had to do German for year 7, and the other half of the year did French, and then in year 8 we ended up doing both if you were in the accelerated classes, but if you weren't in the accelerated classes, you just kept the one language you had. She was in my half of the year, although she wasn't in my class with me, so she wasn't in the accelerated class. So she never got to pick French. So for year 7, 8, and 9, she had to do German, and she hated it. She did not like it at all because she speaks French, and she was like, I want to do French. I want to get out of the way, like get my GCSE, do good in it. So she ended up getting stuck with that. And then I think when they had the option to do the 2 GCSEs early, they actually wanted her to do the French and German, but she just refused to do German. So she ended up doing French, and she picked up French in year 10 and did it for year 10 and 11. And I think she got like an A star in it. She got like really, really well. And she also did French in A level too. So she carried it on because she's like, why not? And I think she wanted to pick up Italian. And then at university, she did Spanish and French. Like she did language and linguistics. So she did she did French and Spanish, I think. She might have done a bit of Italian, I can't remember, to be honest. Because she went away to university. She abandoned me here in London. 3 whole years. Terrible. But yeah, so they made me do French when I didn't want to, and they made her do German when she didn't want to. And it was, I don't know, it seemed unnecessarily stressful. Like the idea of doing languages, I think, is actually a fabulous thing. Like I think because every other country that doesn't speak English, they teach English in school. So whatever country in the world you go to, they also learn English. It might not be fully comprehensive, but they will learn some basic English. They'll know something. And it's funny that it's the English speaking countries that don't make other languages mandatory. I get it's harder for them to pick, but they should have more options and let people pick. Like at my school, French and German were the only options. Even now, I know girls who still go to my old school, and it's just French and German. And then I know other girls who go to, I know kids who go to other schools, and they do like they've got Italian, they've got Spanish, they have Mandarin, they've got Latin, and it's just like I don't understand the point of Latin, to be honest. It's a dead language unless you're planning to do law or medicine. You're never going to need Latin, but you can learn that later on anyway. But it's like it'll be interesting, like it'll be smart if they had people learn a language that would be useful in the future, because like it's shocking how many jobs pay so well for people who speak other languages, but the kids aren't given a chance to learn other languages, and they never learned about the fact that if they spoke those other languages, they could increase the amount of money they make. Like Arabic, there's a wide variety of companies and businesses that want to do work and jobs in Arab countries, in the Gulf, in the Emirates, like in Saudi Arabia, North Africa as well. But there's not enough like fluent Arab speakers in the UK. Same with like degrees and who grew up here and who could basically do the two cultures. And like this is one girl I teach, and she's learning Mandarin, and she absolutely loves it. But she's like, she goes, I don't understand why because I don't know, she just absolutely loves it. And it was just like, I know loads of people who want to learn languages like Mandarin and Japanese and Korean and Spanish. Even Spanish isn't offered much. Like it's very rare. Some schools don't actually offer it. I know it's a lot more common in American schools. I don't know how American systems work. I'm going to not get into that because I just don't know it. Like I've got nothing good or bad to say about it. I don't know anything about it. So, but yeah. So if they offer different languages, I know there was options to take external GCSEs when I was at school. Like I had friends who took Turkish as a GCSE. I had another friend who took Persian as a GCSE. My friend took. There was a couple of people I knew who took Chinese as well. That looked terrible. They were stressed out. They were like, we've got to memorize like 300 characters and stuff like that. And I was like, that sounds so stressful. But they never had, like, I wanted to do Somali as a GCSE, but they never had the option. And then like I found out the people that were like younger than me, like 5 or 6 years younger than me, they got to do Somali as GCSE. And I was like, that's not fair. Like, can I go back now and do it? Because I know Urdu was a GCSE as well. Arabic. One of my brothers actually did Arabic. He literally dropped Spanish in year 9 and picked up Arabic in year 10. But the problem was, he said he had a really bad teacher. So he goes, the teacher would spend there was this one Arab kid in his class, and the teacher spent the entire lesson just talking to that Arab student and like didn't actually teach them. So like he goes, by the end of it, he got a C. So he didn't do too bad, but he said if he'd had a better teacher, then he might have had a better chance. And it's true, if you have a better teacher, you'll have a better chance at anything. So he was still a bit annoyed about that. So that's 3 of my other older brothers took French. The younger 2 took French as well, was the GCSEs. So yeah, me and him were the only odd ones out. He had Arabic and I had German. Because I was absolutely bound and determined to do art as a GCSE. Basically, the reason I wanted to do art was to have a subject that wasn't stressful. Because I was already doing triple science, I had maths, I had further maths, I had the Englishes, RE, history, German. Damn, I had a lot of subjects, didn't I? There was citizenship had to be done as well, but although it wasn't actually worth a GCSE. So I picked, graphics as well, because I got kicked out of food tech. Rice is flammable when I cook. But yeah, so yeah, I wanted to do art because I thought in my head, I told myself like that it was going to be a nice, easy subject for me to relax in, do a little sketching, do a little clay work. It would be nice. It would be like rewarding. I wouldn't have to. No, darling, no. Nobody tells you that for art you need to do a extended coursework piece where you have to research a specific type of art form or like art genre, and then you have to pick the medium that you want to do it in, and then you need to write a whole thing of who influenced you, why they influenced you, what you're going to do, how you're going to do it, why you're going to do it. Like, you've got to write it all out, and then you've got to do the art piece. And then once you do the art piece, then you do like an analysis of what you've done. Said, okay, so this is what I did. This is what happened. I did this because of this. I did this because of that. And it's a long thing, and that's the coursework. And like, I think I did something that was like Salvador Dali based with a twist of mysticism and mythology. Like, I don't know, there was unicorns and wolves and symbolism involved, and it was black and white, and it was just massive and cumbersome and annoying. I can't remember why I did it. I overthink things. And then there is the fact that there is a 10-hour art exam. I was doing IT as well. That was the other subject. So IT was a 20-hour exam, 20-hour exam. Like, I don't know how they expect 15, 16-year-olds to sit for 20 hours and do an exam, especially when we didn't have a teacher and had no idea what we were doing. And the supply teacher lost all our coursework, so we failed anyway. Sorry, I didn't plug the coaster. Literally, I have like a mug warmer, and then you plug it in and it keeps your mug warm for you. But yeah, so, and then art was a 10-hour exam, and then again you had to pick the medium, the influence, the whatever. I think I did a 3D Mayan temple, and I decided to do it in multi-mediums. So there was pencil involved, there was paint involved, there was pen involved. It was like a little building, like an actual temple done in card. It was all like paper mache and like, I just did the thing that I thought would take the longest amount of time. I love how I digressed into art when we started off with languages. But yeah, so the reason I picked art was because I thought it would be a nice break, and I chose art instead of French, and because I thought it would be easier, but now I regret it because I think French would have been better. So yeah, so that was today's TED Talk on languages, why and how. But yeah, so yeah, hope you enjoyed yourself, because I actually did. It was nice remembering the reasons why I did so many things, and the fact that even if I never actually completed it, I at least attempted several different languages, and being fluent in 3 and conversant in a couple others is not bad. Not bad at all. Pretty proud of myself, just realised. But yes, there is me with my British accent no matter what language I speak. And yeah, so I will see you guys tomorrow for day 9. What will day 9 be? I don't know, actually. I'll put it up when I've decided what I'm going to do. And I will see you then. Ciao, bambinos.